So Foundry for builders. Let's talk about MCP servers, knowledge bases. Knowledge base is a new concept inside the new Foundry and workflow orchestration. So the agenda, let's talk about the new Foundry. Why Foundry? Create an agent for inventory work, create an agent for a RAG solution, and create an orchestration for agents. So the new Foundry. What is Foundry or not Foundry? Many people get confused on this, but the fact is, before there was Azure AI Foundry. And when Microsoft had the Ignite conference, Microsoft told everyone that they were renaming Foundry to Microsoft Foundry, the new name. But it's not a rename. It's a full-scale transformation. A full transformation. The Microsoft Foundry is way easier than the AI Foundry. It used completely different APIs. People were developing with APIs for the AI Foundry. They had to rebuild everything to Microsoft Foundry. So everything is different. It's slightly different, enough different to make everyone have to rebuild some apps to connect to the new Microsoft Foundry. So it has a new API, new features, and it's way easier. Things we couldn't even think of doing with the old Azure AI Foundry, we can make in the new. So let's take a look on the Foundry edition. So I have Foundry here. Here. So here I have Foundry. When we first land in Foundry, we see this. And this was a transformation that Microsoft did some months ago. Only some months ago. So Microsoft still keep some kind of backwards compatibility. Not exactly backwards compatibility, but it allows both work at the same time, side by side. So I'm using the UI of the new Foundry, and the new Foundry is considered very looking down on me. And the new Foundry is considered preview. If I want to use the old UI, I can just ask to use the old UI. And it changed the UI to the UI of the old Foundry, the Azure AI Foundry from before the Ignite conference. This is the old UI. The old UI, and then this banner for me to change to the new UI again. They are not fully compatible. For example, Visual Studio Code has a Foundry extension, which can connect to agents in Foundry, but this was built for Azure AI Foundry. They rushed to make some compatibility with the new Microsoft Foundry, but it's minimal. You click on an agent, it opens the browser to you for you to work. So the compatibility is minimal. We expect this to improve. Okay, so this is the new build environment where we have the concepts of the agents. There is a lot of stuff that is being handled for us only to get to here. In AI Foundry, we had to manage that here, somewhere there. We have the workflows that sometime in the future may replace the machine learning prompt flow. I hope it's far from that, but I hope. Models. Knowledge bases is a new concept, the integration with knowledge bases, and so on. So we are seeing the difference between the two foundries, the Microsoft Foundry and the Azure AI Foundry. So why Foundry? Well, we could compare Foundry with Copilot Studio. So why would we use Foundry? Well, in the comparison, most people say that Foundry is pro-code. I don't like to say the Foundry is pro-code. Foundry is pro, but low code. You code a bit. It's important sometimes to solve some problems with code, but it's minimal. While Copilot Studio goes to a low to no code solution, lower coding than Foundry. Yes, this is a fact, lower coding than Foundry. But when Microsoft launched both during the Ignite conference, I was very confused, because they had sessions deeply explaining governance inside Foundry. Yes, we can govern agents inside Foundry. And we also had sessions explaining governance using a new feature called Agent 365, which is focused on Copilot Studio, governance in Copilot Studio. So we have governance in two places. How we join the thing, how we put this thing together. Yes, we have governance in two places. To make this more complex, the Agent 365 is in a kind of private review, or it was very recently in a kind of private review. Microsoft is only opening the Agent 365 under request for some partners, especially partners that accept the challenge to become a frontier firm. What is a frontier firm? The Microsoft is putting on the partner program. These are companies, partners that accept, replace their employees by agents. Microsoft considered that the company needs to be run by agents and with some employees overlooking the agent activities. So Microsoft established a partnership plan where the company start putting agents inside teams of employees and adding more and more agents. And at the end, you have some employees overlooking the agent work, but the hard work is all done by agents. Is what Microsoft is calling frontier firm, and is a kind of partnership program that they established. It was released when Ignite, when they were the Ignite. So Agent 365 is in a kind of private preview, difficult to access. And how they relate? How does duplication governance relate? It took me a while because Microsoft loves to announce things and document later. It took me a while to discover and understand the difference. Agent 365 is intended to control your company internally. Who inside your company has the right to create an agent? Which data that agent has the right to access? Should that agent be published inside your company? This is the kind of governance that Agent 365 will make inside your company, so overlooking the existence of the agent. But Foundry has a feature called control plane, and the focus of the governance in Foundry is about the security of the usage of the agent. To ensure, for example, that an agent can't be jailbroken. Jailbreak an agent is about asking requests to an agent in such a tricky way that the agent gives you an information that it shouldn't never give you. And jailbreak agents is a big challenge today. And the sessions in Ignite were absolutely great about how to avoid that using the resources in Foundry control plane. So, one, Foundry, governance in Foundry is intended for the security of using the agents. And Agent 365 is related to who can create agents inside your company and what agents will exist inside your company. So these are two different points of view of governance that are evolving in different paths inside Microsoft. Even in Ignite, there was a session joining both, using both together, Foundry and Copilot Studio, but we are still to see where they will mesh. Some point in the future, we'll see a bigger mesh between them. Okay, let's take a look on the Foundry control plane. I don't have very rich demonstrations for that, but let's take a look on the basics. We come to operate. Hey, operate, I can view, I can take a look on a compliance report. If I had some compliance problems, they would appear here. The point is that there are guardrails, and guardrails applied to models. And we define these guardrails also through policies. I can create a policy. Creating a policy and applying this policy in Foundry, it means that every agent which will be created will need to follow this policy, will have this policy applied. And the idea is exactly to prevent things like jailbreaking the agent, and prevent this in a way like a firewall. The user will make a question. If this question reaches the intelligence of the agent, it can jailbreak the agent. So before the question reaches the intelligence of the agent, the question needs to pass the policies specified, the policies applied to the agent. And Foundry can govern these policies, like define that one policy will be applied to all the agents, for example. Jailbreaking, prompt injections, problems with the chat, hate, sexual, self-harm, and things like that. So how these can be included in policies. We can include what kind of risk this policy will check, and specify these policies inside Foundry. So, on previous years, we were playing with AI. 2024, it was the year of the RAG. We were starting with RAG. 2025, it was the year of the agent. 2026, is pointing to us being the year of the governor of the agents, creating ways to govern the existence of the existence and the security of the agents. Following this way provides the contemplate for that. And this is just a small taste of what can do. For example, it's linked to Defender. The information that it collects with the usage of the agent goes directly to the Defender on Azure, which can take additional action. Okay, let's talk about creating agents to answer questions about AdventureWorks. AdventureWorks is a database. Yes, it's a database. So I'm not talking about RAG. The old-fashioned RAG, which index, makes vector a vector search. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about answering questions about a relation database. How do we achieve that? So AdventureWorks agent, to achieve that, we need to use an MCP capable to access SQL. Microsoft made a SQL Server MCP. It's open source. It's open source for us to use. In my personal opinion, it's incomplete. A lot of incomplete. I myself adapted that SQL Server MCP, improved it, and transformed it in an Azure function. So in my GitHub, there is a repo, which is the SQL MCP server, which is basically an Azure function. To use it as an MCP for any SQL source, you just need to download the source and publish. Configure the parameter to point to your SQL source that you want, and it will be an MCP to that SQL. Just that. Let's test this MCP server. Let's see how this MCP server works, and let's see how to link the agent to this MCP server. Okay, create the AdventureWorks agent. Let's see how we will do that. So, the way to start refreshing some pages. Of connector. So, I'm using AdventureWorks lib, not the full AdventureWorks, but this is a small detail, not important for what we are building. So I'm using an AdventureWorks lib inside Azure SQL. Inside Azure SQL, inside Azure. Okay. This is my MCP server. SQL MCP server is just an Azure function. An Azure function transformed in MCP server. How is that? Here is Visual Studio. I still like to use Visual Studio, but there is no problem if you make the same in Visual Studio Code. There is no problem about that. I have a regular Azure function, but inside this regular Azure function, I'm using some some specific attributes. These attributes transform the operations in my Azure function into an MCP operation. Not only the attributes, but the initialization as well. So enable MCP2 metadata, and then configure MCP2 for each one of the methods of the Azure function, which I want to work as an MCP method. It means I'm making my Azure function capable to be called from an agent. By the way, this that I'm showing is not code that I built. I mean, I adapted the code only to make it work inside an Azure function. But if you look for it, Microsoft has an Azure function MCP extension, which contains these attributes. I'm joining things that Microsoft provided in different repositories to put it together in an Azure function. So all these is provided by Microsoft itself. These are libraries provided by Microsoft itself to build an MCP server inside an Azure function. Okay? I'm using this for something very small, to make questions over a relational database is something very small. Imagine the applications inside your company right now. Maybe the applications inside your company may be divided in many layers. You have the front end, you have the back end, and you have the data. How is a back end built? Is there any chance that your back end is built in Azure Functions? If your back end is built in Azure Functions, you can perfectly adapt this back end to work in two different ways. The same backend can be connected from an agent. You can adapt the backend to accept MCP requests from an agent. So instead of accessing your entire application only through the application UI, you can access the application through an agent and talk to the agent. Ask the agent to do something, and the agent will do through your backend API. It's too much to say that the front end is dead. It's too much, but it's at risk. A huge front end transformation is coming. By the way, how do you talk to the agent? You transform the agent into a company employee, and the agent has an account on Teams. So you call the agent on Teams. You call it as a coworker and ask it to do one task for you. It does. So that's the idea, and that's the MCP server. I wrote some posts in LinkedIn. I'm writing blog posts in LinkedIn newsletters. I try to publish one per week. There are some blog posts about how to build this MCP server, how to test this MCP server, how to use it in Copilot Studio, how to use it in Foundry, different blog posts in LinkedIn newsletters. And how do we test this MCP server? How do we see that the MCP server is working? There is a tool called MCP Inspector, which is also an open source tool, but I don't need to go to the source of the tool. I only need to install the tool in a container instance inside Azure. That's all I need to do. The tool is published as a container, ready to use as a container. So I just need to execute the right installation commands to create a container instance, pushing these containers, and then I can use the MCP inspector to test the MCP server. This is the MCP inspector. It would be more beautiful if I had remembered to disconnect it, because I tested before. So this is the MCP inspector. How do I test the MCP server? Well, I need to get my Azure function address. But from the Azure function address, I add this path. This path is standard in this MCP built with an Azure function. We use this path as a standard. So it's the Azure function address plus this path. Then I use this address as the address of my MCP server. There are different protocols for the MCP server, but what's important for us is the streamable HTTP, which I'm using, and then I can specify the authentication. I pass a header to this Azure function, X functions key, and I pass the authentication to the Azure function. Which authentication? How will we authenticate this? The MCP tool, which was built inside the code of this Azure function, handles this. The tool, when it's activated in the function, creates a completely new kind of system key, an MCP extension system key. Completely new here. A regular Azure function doesn't have this here. So I copy this key, which is the authentication, to my MCP server. And put here. Isn't there a better way to authenticate? That's the weak point of MCPs in Azure functions. We can't use both to authenticate. We can't use single sign-on or host to authenticate. We need to authenticate through the key built by this tool. There are other ways to build MCP servers in containers. It gives a lot more trouble, but then they can go further in relation to the authentication using oath, using single sign-on to authenticate. But depending on the scenario, sometimes a simple Azure function authentication will be enough. So I connected, then the inspector allows me to list the tools. Listing the tools, it means it is listing what's available for me to execute in the function. I can, for example, ask to list tables and ask to run. In this moment, it was executed. This container made a call to my Azure function using MCP protocols to call that method which listed the tables available in my AdventWorks database. And I have the answer.
Is a purely SQL Server?
Azure SQL. Yeah.
Azure SQL Server.
Azure SQL Server. But this works the same. I'm using basic SQL. With basic SQL, this will not break with any SQL source. I already used it with lakehouses, warehouses inside Fabric, for example, with no problem. It won't break unless you push too hard to build complex SQL that breaks the syntax of your source. If you go with basic SQL, it will work. By the way, just to make it very illustrate this, make it very visible, how the function points to the Azure SQL. It's an environment variable, connection string. As I said, I published the code of this function in a GitHub repo, in my GitHub. So you can clone that repo, publish it for function, change the connection string, and it is working. And it's working. Just that. Okay, we have the MCP server. That's the point. We have the MCP server. Now, let's build the agent. Let's call it ADV agent, Adventry agent. The agent is linked to a model. Okay, I selected the model, linked to the agent. And now I will link this agent to my MCP server. In the past, this was extremely difficult. Now, I just come to Tools, add a tool, add new tool, custom model context protocol. MCP server. I link the agent to the MCP server. Great. Foundry works like a platform where we are building this. So this link from the agent to the MCP server will become a connection inside the fabric, a connection inside Foundry, a connection that can be reused by other agents. Other agents can use the same connection. And this MCP server will be registered as a tool inside Foundry. So, UG Adventure. Then I put the address of the MCP server. I will specify the authentication. Authentication by key, specify the authentication. I'm showing basic scenarios. I'm not going too much into advanced scenarios, but don't keep tied too much to the UI of Foundry. The UI of Foundry is in preview, in the overview. There are things that the Foundry as a platform can do, and the UI can't. Sometimes we need to go through a Python script, create the agent through Python script to achieve some specific configuration that the UI doesn't allow. So, connect. And native. The tool is connected, and I can save. The agents in Foundry are versioned. This is the version 2. I can access previous versions of the agent, if you would like so. So Foundry has its own version control of the agent. Yeah. SQL agent prompt. Save. And then we ask the questions. How many products are there? Okay. I'm asking the question to the agent about the products in my database. The agent will need to contact the MCP server to access the products. I forgot one step. Now that I forgot, it's better demonstrated if I first show the YAML of the agent. This is like a definition file of the agent. There are many ways to create the agent. I'm using the Y, but you could have a definition file and create through Python through the definition file, or not, or through some SDK. The definition file is only one. Mind what it tells here about the MCP server. It's not important what it tells, it's important what it doesn't tell about security to execute the tool and confirmations while executing the tool. So what's happening here? By default, the UI doesn't put any configuration in relation to access to the tool. So by default, the Foundry keeps asking questions, asking confirmation. Are you sure you want me to use this external tool? This is an external tool. Are you sure you want me to execute this? Is telling me what it will execute. And is asking for confirmation. I can decide according to my use case if I wanted to always ask confirmation or never ask again. Approve once, always approve this tool, always approve all tools. I'll ask it to always approve all tools. And it goes ahead. It failed. It needs better instructions.
Maybe we can change the model. 4.1.
No, it needs better instructions. So I'm reinforcing on the prompt that it needs to check the schema of the database. The MCP server has tools for that. It can list the table. Save. Okay. YAML. Require approval? Never. Because the answer I made in the playground. You are lucky. I think this changed this week or last week. Because some weeks ago, to achieve this, I had to create the agent back home by Python. To turn off the approval, I had to create by Python. It was the only way. But this was improved this week or last week. So let me start again. And ask how many products are there? $295 products. It did at least 2 calls to the MCP, one to list the table, one to query the products table. We can see the calls, the inventory, the calls it did multiple calls. One to list the tables, one to query the correct table. Two calls to the MCP. Could you list the top 5 product categories according to their number of products? So the 5 categories which have most of the products. So I just built an agent which can answer questions over there.
I'm quite curious if there are multiple tables, or how would the agent know that it has to interrogate the product table A, not product table B, for example?
In this case, you would need to provide additional instructions in the system prompt. Instructions about the schema of your source. In fact, what I illustrated in the beginning, that the agent made 2 calls, one to check the schema, one to execute the query, that's not good. It's wasting tokens. If I had explained the schema of the database in the system prompt, the agent would reduce that to 1 call and save prompt. So it works without a detailed prompt, but that doesn't mean it's good. The most detailed the prompt, better it will be. Okay? Okay. So this is our SQL agent. Let's advance. Now let's create our RAG agent. Well, retrieve augmented generation. RAG is used to answer questions about unstructured documents. I index unstructured documents and ask the agent to answer questions about those unstructured documents. This requires an indexing infrastructure. This requires an indexing infrastructure, and this indexing infrastructure is made using Azure AI Search. Azure AI Search can implement it. But I always surprise people when I say that we can implement a RAG solution in 10 minutes. Because Microsoft did that for us. Microsoft created an accelerator solution called Chat with Your Data Accelerator. It deploys the entire functional and working RAG solution directly into Azure. I only need to click this button, deploy. And it is in my Azure. I deployed this for this demonstration today. It's not the most economical solution. I only deploy when I am about to demonstrate. Okay, this solution. All these objects were automatically deployed by that button, by clicking on that button. It deployed 2 applications, one intended to be the back-end application, one intended to be a front-end chat application. It deployed a function map to manage ingestion of the documents. And you deploy an Azure OpenAI service and the search service. It's there, it's working. It's a RAG solution working in one click. But the point that I have some recordings of some sessions I delivered explaining this. It's on my YouTube channel. But the point today is not about using this solution target. It's about integrating this solution with the agents in Foundry. Why? Why I would like to do that? The front end of this solution is not so important for us anymore because the agents and because how we can publish the agents to teams, for example, and so on. So the front end is not so important anymore. But the back end doesn't have much equivalence. This is the back end. This is the app the solution brings to us. This app accepts documents or also URL. I can put the URL here of a website, and it will web scrape the website and insert the content inside the Azure AI Service. So the backend is a ready-to-use backend that we would have a lot of trouble to implement it by ourselves. And we can just deploy and then integrate with an agent in Foundry to make the front-end part. So we can completely replace the front-end, forget the front-end, and use on the back-end.
How do you provision the infrastructure on Azure for this? Is there
The click of this button triggers the deploy of an Azure template. An Azure template which is built to provision all those objects. The details of the infrastructure of the object is explained on the documentation of the GitHub, what it's deploying, what the configuration is deploying, and so on. The configuration is here.
Is there any cheaper alternative? Because you said it's too expensive, right?
Hmm?
If I understood you correctly, it does consume a lot of resources.
What usually makes this expensive is because it deploys a Cosmos DB. I have not played it too much, but I'm quite sure that Cosmos DB deployed is used only for the front end of this deployment. Actually drop the front end, keep the back end, because that's what you use in Foundry, and it may work, although I didn't test it. The expense is because Cosmos. But if you try to deploy with PostgreSQL, it doesn't deploy the iSearch and doesn't integrate with Foundry. Foundry is not ready to integrate with PostgreSQL as a vector source. Okay. But it's deploying things that, because it's front end, we may not use. Yeah. This is the Azure AI Search, which was deployed, and you are seeing the index that was deployed by this application inside the search service. The index deployed. And I already ingested 2 URLs. 2 articles I wrote about Microsoft Fabric. So I already ingested 2 URLs here. That's why you see the index already has content. There are many very interesting and advanced features. I mean, advanced. I passed by stages where these features didn't exist. But now, in the search service, you have a vector profile. And in your vector profile, you can connect vectorizer, if you connect a vector profile and a vectorizer in a search surface index, this means that everything which is inserted inside this index is automatically vectorized by the search surface. We don't need to make the call ourselves to create the vector. It does for us. It does for us. And when we search, we just specify the type of search, and the type can be vector. It will use the vectorizer to make a vector search automatically. I was playing with this in 2024, and there was nothing like this. I mean, we had to make these steps manually, develop these steps. Now it makes for us. It makes for us. Besides the fact that it brought a completely new concept. I believe it was first announced in Ignite. I don't remember seeing it before Ignite. The concept of agent retrieval. The concept of knowledge bases and knowledge searches, knowledge sources. This is what we see inside Foundry. This connects directly to Foundry. The knowledge bases that we see here inside Foundry are knowledge bases from the search surface. So I'll click here in knowledge. It's already telling me, okay, where is my search surface? I need to point it to the search surface. And this establishes a connection to this search surface in Foundry. Foundry will manage the connection as a platform. The connection is established in the Foundry platform. Connect. This integration of tools, which I'm showing one by one, Microsoft is creating fancy names for this integration, like Foundry IQ. A fancy name for the integration from Foundry to the knowledge base in the search surface. Then I create a knowledge base. Okay, but before going forward and creating the knowledge base, let's talk a bit about it. Start with your data accelerator, is to deploy and manage, provides ready-to-use backend, the iSearch integrates well with Foundry. Only the backend is needed when integrating with Foundry. We don't need the front end. Okay, we just saw the accelerator. By revolution, we started with vector search. Then, I will try to summarize in less than 5 minutes one thing that there was an entire session in Ignite explaining this in all the details. In all the details. It was an incredible session. And these recordings are available around in the web. So, Leg evolution, Leg started in vector search. But if you really work hard on it and check the results, sometimes you see that sometimes vector search leaves something behind. It's not exactly what you wanted. How to improve that? We can make a new hybrid search. The vector search plus keyword search. And there are specific techniques to use that. For example, use the vector search to find and use the keyword search to rank. There are many techniques to break down the search process and the result process using a combination of these techniques. Then, maybe keyword is not enough for ranking. Let's improve a bit more. Let's make a semantic search. instead of only based on keyword, you set up which fields are important for ranking, for example, and you call this a semantic search, and you mix this with the hybrid search and make an even better ranking. I said that this was an incredible session in Ignite because each one of these, they speak up, which was from the product team of the search, made a demonstration of how it improved the search. And final step, agentic search. Okay, let's imagine that the hybrid search plus semantic search didn't bring what we need. How do we solve this? We put an agent in front of them, not the main agent, a search agent in front of them. The agent decides if that result was good enough to return. If the agent thinks that result was not good enough to return, the agent search again. Change the search parameters and search again. And join the result. It's been called agentic search. When we started in 2024, or before that, maybe, we were using a model, and that's it. Now we are using an agent that uses a model that call a search agent for the agentic search that use another model that called as index. Isn't this more expensive? Of course it is more expensive. And this is what Microsoft is throwing at us as the fool. It's better, but is it for every scenario? This is something that should be questioned. In the Foundry UI, for example, you can only configure this. You cannot go back to use the model with vector search anymore. You can only configure this. Is this needed? It depends. It's better to analyze case by case. I said the UI is limited. Microsoft is pushing us toward this as the full, but it's important to understand what we are doing, how big the solution is becoming, and maybe we don't need something this big for every scenario. We could go smaller. And sometimes to go smaller, you need to go on code, Python, to create the agent by code to tell exactly what you want inside your agent.
There's no easy way.
Yes. Okay. So a knowledge base is basically the concept of agentic search. It uses agentic search plus hybrid plus semantic. And pose the question, do we need all this? That's what we need to always think about. Okay. Let's advance and create a knowledge base in the RAG agent. Okay, so knowledge base, create a knowledge base. I need an index to create a knowledge base. So Azure AI Search Index. Connect. It is asking me. It creates so many layers that we get lost on the naming. This is the naming of the connection of that index inside my knowledge base, which will be consumed by the agent.
Good luck.
Fabric index. contains documents about data platform. And then I select the index. Bugs are common. They forget to put something inside the code and things go wrong. Last time I tested, I couldn't create this knowledge base inside the success. You saw that there was knowledge base there, but I couldn't. It fails. It tells the index is not ready. But if I create from Foundry to be created in the success, Foundry makes the index ready. They forgot something. Okay. The index is here. I can define the name of this knowledge base. Data platform knowledge. Contains knowledge about data platform. Then I can select an agent. A knowledge base works with an agent. I have reasoning effort. I mean, I'm putting an agent, and this agent will reason over the result of the index hash. And I configure the reasoning level that I want. Output mode, a synthesis of the answer or the extracted data itself. That's the capability of the agentic search. There is an agent, so it can summarize the answer. So I'm searching, and this agent could already summarize the answer. Okay. I put some instructions to the knowledge base to ground the knowledge base. Okay, and save.
Is this the first agent or the second one? The first agent, right? The one which we were talking about, that there are two agents, agentic.
There will be two agents.
This is the first one, or the second agent would be?
Let's say I didn't create the main agent, which will be the RAG agent.
All right.
I didn't create it yet.
Okay.
But this agent inside the knowledge base will be the second one, the search agent, responsible for the agent
retrieval of data.
We'll have a main agent and calling the second agent.
Okay.
Responsible for the agent research. That's it, data platform knowledge. Now let's create an agent. Data platform RAG. Create. And I'll link this agent with the knowledge base. Connect to Foundry IQ. Connection and select the knowledge base, data platform knowledge. So Foundry IQ is a fashion name that Microsoft gave to all these connections, all this architecture it built between Foundry and Success. Okay. I prepared a grounding prompt. The agent. I hope it will not disappoint on the demonstration. Sometimes it's not so simple to ground when you have a lot of agents in the middle trying to decide what they should tell you. Okay, so I can ask a question. What's Microsoft? two axes. By the way, the axis between Foundry and the success is an MCP connection. But it's a fancy MCP connection because it has different UI methods, but underneath is basically an MCP connection and passed by the two approvals as well. Approval tools. Well, it's not perfect, but it gave me my Redgate article explaining what Microsoft Fabric is. Sometimes the point about agentic AI is that sometimes it doesn't ground too well. Sometimes it uses the knowledge of the agent itself to answer the question. It's pointing to my articles, but it's going to documentation related to Fabric. That doesn't perfectly ground. It needs more detail on the prompt to be completely grounded. Okay, but it's working. That's the point. And now we have two agents. We have a database agent and we have a web agent. One to ask questions to structured data and the other to ask questions to unstructured data. So both agents let me get back to the PowerPoint. And now we'll create a workflow. The user doesn't want to go to an agent, go to another, go to an agent, to another. He wants to ask a question and get the answer. But we have two agents. How do we manage that? We can use a workflow. We can receive the user question, identify which agent is the agent capable to answer that question, and then direct the question to that agent. So a classifier needs to be created. So we need to classify the question of the user. We need to identify if the question of the user is a question about data platform or a question about products and sales. So we need to classify the user question. In other scenarios, like machine learning prompt flow, we would not need an agent to make this classified. It could be a model call. But the workflows in Foundry don't support model calls yet. They only call agent. So we need to create an agent to work as a classifier. Is like to using a bazooka to kill a mosquito. But that's how it is at the moment. It is a preview. It is a preview. Okay. Workflow secrets. We call agents. We can save the agent response in variables that will flow along the workflow. The agent response can be in the output. I can put the agent response to the end user, or I can hide it and take the decisions about it. We can test the variables, define the flow, testing the variables. Expressions are made in PowerFX language from Power Automate. For example, to check the question type, the answer comes in JSON. So I need to get the first object, get the proper text, and check the type. This is an example of how our workflow can become. So we'll give the classifier, then based on the answer of the classifier, we decide to where we send the question. If we send the question to the reg agent, or if we send the questions to the database agent. So let's build the workflow. We create blank workflow. Start. Sorry, my bad. Not save. I need to create a classifier first. I missed one part of the prompt. This prompt is not complete. Let me fix it quickly. That's it. So this is the classifier agent, which will only decide about which type of question we are receiving. So let's go to the workflow. Okay. Blank workflow. Yeah, invoke an agent. Invoke an agent. Actions. Classify. Classify the question. Which agent I will invoke? I invoke the classifier. Okay. And what I will send to the classifier agent? I'll send the last message. This is a point of the workflow where I would like to hide the message. If I leave the message open, the result of the agent open, it will be only for the debugging purpose to see what is happening in each step. Then I turn off later before publishing. Then save the agent output, create new variable. It's question type. Done. So my classifier action is created. Now I'll create a flow decision if and the test. This if I don't remember the syntax. Index. Question type is a JSON returned by the agent. I need to get the first object of the JSON in the proper text. So index of question type 1.text equal data platform. This is the first if. Done. I can add more ifs, or I could use the else. It's a choice. Index. Variable first, then index local question type 1 text equal status. Done. Yeah, below one of the if data platform. Data platform requires the RAG agent containing documents about data platform. Done. And the other one, invoke agent, is the AdventWorks agent, the database agent. Done. Save workflow name, user group flow, save. Now I can use the preview and ask the questions. For example, how many products are there? When I run in the preview, it shows me where it's going, and it went towards the right agent. And it answered 295 products. What's Microsoft Web? It answered. It provided the answer about Microsoft Web. It went to the RAG agent. So, it's a technology preview. It's a technology preview. I pointed many details of failure, many points to pay close attention to, and so on. But the point is, it took me 1 hour and a half to build this. 1 hour and a half to build a database agent, a RAG agent, and build a workflow to orchestrate between them in the platform with no code. Well, I use it open source code. Questions?
If the RAG agent or the search agent or the different agents, when they ask the questions, would seemingly overlap, how would sort of the workflow sort of change, adapt, or need to be built? Because obviously, with the if-else, it's only one option. But if the question is actually something that might overlap on the different areas, on both areas, for instance.
This is something that needs to be part of development work.
Okay.
But let me put some guesswork on how it could be developed. The classifier needs to identify the overlap. And you need to have predefined overlap types. And then when it reaches a branch, which is an overlap, which is actually an overlap, then you can make 2 agent calls, for example, and ask a third agent to join and summarize the answer from the 2 and deliver the answer to the user. This is an example.
Yes. Thank you.
Now, let's look your question from another angle. What the overflow, the workflow is doing? the workflow is putting a deterministic logic around something that is not deterministic, the agent. Is a deterministic logic around something that is not deterministic. What if over your question you reach a point that is way less deterministic? You could, instead of the workflow, go to direct agent connections. Use HWA protocol, agent to agent, connect the agent one to each other, and specifying the system prompt for the system prompt to define which agent it needs to use. Less deterministic, so you let the agent define. So the point of the workflow is to put some determinism on the process that is being done by non-deterministic agents. Questions? No? Great. So, I hope you enjoy it. I hope it was interesting. And later, if you can, I'll publish the pictures. We were taking pictures. I'll publish the pictures of the event. And if you can comment, repost, and then attract more people for our community, that's good. More people, more networking. We get to meet each other. So my contacts, who don't have my contact. We always make a small effort at the end. It's not something too fancy, but it is a small booklet about warehouses. This is a cover for the camera and a back.